Hi, it's Drugbunny1983 and welcome to Elite Dangerous on the Xbox. This was me in Fong Wang at the event for the passing of Commander Drugbunny1983. Yeah, I haven't been down in Fong Wang in a long time. It was a good turnout for a very sad event. For those of you who didn't see the community post I made or aren't aware of the situation, Commander Drugbunny passed away. From all accounts, I don't know if it's absolutely 100% confirmed, but it appears that he took his own life, which is incredibly sad. All I'm going to say on that subject is don't take a permanent solution to a temporary problem. The irony is I came down here and spent my entire night kamikazing into things. Here I am desperately trying to smash into Ragnar Scott's vet. So I took an awful lot of rebuys, and in a very ironic twist, killed myself in game terms on a very regular basis. But you know, my piloting style has been described as flying like a suicidal lemming on a regular basis, so I wasn't going to change that. But I mean, the reason I picked this ship, which isn't the smartest choice in the world, is because it's the last ship I believe Drugbunny killed me in. It's the last ship I fought him in, and yeah, I fought against his FDL in this. I had a fun fight. I think I barely escaped with my canopy cracked, but his shields were down and he was on very low percentage of hull as well, so it was a good old ding-dong fight. He also killed me in this once by ramming me to death inside the station. So, you know, I thought it was a fitting ship. It's the ship that I've had since I've known him. My interactions with Drugbunny actually starts before I met him. So years ago, when I was a space trucker with XO, didn't do any PvP related activities, wasn't really involved in the PvP community. I was just a BGS space trucker. So Marco contacted me and asked if I would help him with a video he was making. Me and Marco go way back, and we've chatted over the years about doing collaborations, and there's a few times we've contacted each other about videos that we've done or thinking of doing. And he wanted to do a talk with some combat loggers about combat logging in the game, and he wanted me in there as a moderator. There was two I think discussions he did, one about PvP rules and one about combat logging. He wanted me to be moderator for him because I was on the outside of all that sort of stuff, so I would have been seen as a neutral party. I ended up not doing it because of where we used to live, the animal noise was terrible, and also it was just really difficult for me to get on at the same time as he wanted to do them because of work. So I ended up not doing it, which I deeply regret. But after the videos, it's the one on Zamarco's channel, it's still up there, where him and Drugbunny get into an argument in which Drugbunny tells Zamarco that, you know, Zamarco's wrong, and if he had law degrees like Kenny's got, then it would be totally different. So it's a very memed audio clip, but when you listen to the full conversation, it is quite a funny video with a funny conversation back and forth. Now, when I actually finally met Drugbunny in game, I think he was at the point where he regretted combat logging. I asked him directly, because I always, like with anyone who's known as being a combat logger in game, I always ask them the question direct, you know, how many times have you combat logged? It's a very simple question. Now, anyone who knows me well enough by now and knows my style of communication, if I ask you a question, I actually probably know the answer, or at least I have an idea about the answer, and I'm just more looking to see whether you're going to be truthful about it. So I was then told that he'd only ever logged once, and no one would let him forget it, and it was, you know, it was incredibly terrible how people were so horrible towards him over this one time that he'd logged. At which point I sent him, I think, 3 videos of him combat logging and said which one was the once you're referring to. But that's me. I'm darkly brutal when it comes to written conversations. Yeah. Do I regret our conversations? No, I look back through them, and though I am quite brutal with some of my responses, he's also quite brutal back towards me. It's pretty even back and forth. You know, being someone who reports combat logs and reports cheats, it was never going to be a wonderful relationship we had. We were never going to be bosom buddies. but I would like to think with someone that would play football at Christmas, you know. I had no ill feeling towards him personally. I don't think he had any ill feelings towards me personally. He did describe me as toxic towards. He described it. I think it was Skull. He was messaging, and he told Skull that they should leave the Dark Marauders because people like me were incredibly toxic, and I was laughing my butt off over that. But you know, me and him had an interesting relationship where we exchanged a lot of messages throughout the ESR, the MPS war, and like I say, when I met him at that point, he was at the point where he'd regretted combat logging in the past because it had left him with this tarnished reputation, and you know, and that I think he did regret that at that stage, though he was still using Primo, and he got very annoyed with me calling him the Primo Kid. He made this great grandiose speech at me about how he was, you know, in his 30s, 6'4", hard as nails, bouncer, boxer, MMA fighter, and how dare I make assumptions about his age and call him the Primo Kid. At which point I said, look, yeah, but it's not much of an assumption when we've both got our year of birth in our gamer tag, and I'm 8 years older than you, so when I was 18, you were 10, I would have called you kid then, and I'm calling you kid now. You know. And yeah, he called me childish, which I'm not going to say is untrue. I am incredibly childish. Everyone knows that. I mean, when it comes to taking the mick and winding people up, I am very, very childish. It's got to be said. So, like I said, we had this back and forth throughout the ESR DMPS war. We exchanged messages, GGs, and various other things. Highlights, he really enjoyed ramming me to death inside the station and sent me many comments about that, made videos about it, thought it was really hilarious. I died in my FDL and he tried to make out that was 4 deaths, but when I pointed out they were the same death from different angles because they all had the same time code, he got a bit snappy with me over that. But there was a beautiful moment where he was in Swift Vision trying to block my landing pad as I was delivering cargo in my Type 9, so I just sat on him until the station blew him up. That was a beautiful moment. That was a lot of messages exchanged. Him telling me how it didn't count as a kill because I hadn't killed him, the station had, which was irony because most of his videos on his channel were DMPS died at station games, which is, yeah. So it was an interesting dichotomy. One of my favourite all-time videos in Elite Dangerous is me tough trucking around ESR as they were blockading our system. Me and my Type 7 delivering missions in and around ESR players, because obviously because the system and station are anarchy, they could ram me to death inside the station very easily in a Type 7. So it was properly difficult to get around them. In the end, Brother Loon did kill me in my Type 7, but only after I had delivered hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of missions. So yeah, I really enjoyed the trucking it around and BGSing in and around ESR. That was some of the most fun space trucking I had ever done. Their blockade was hilarious. Through Drugbunny, I met some very fun characters in this game. A lot of players because of the ESR war. My time in DMPS before the ESR war, I was pretty much on the periphery. I did a bit of piracy with Polo. I space trucked and did BGS, but I wasn't a vocal, active member of the Dark Marauders. By the end of the ESR war, I was very much a central figure. I'd become a lot closer with a lot of the guys and was in party chat regularly all night long. So, that war was what brought the Dark Marauders together as a group, which is, something to be really thankful to Kenny for. He brought us together in a way that we hadn't been before. And looking back now, even if this hadn't happened, I would still look back fondly at that war and at Drugbunny for bringing us all together. He was the perfect protagonist for us as Dark Marauders. He was so much fun to engage with, so much fun to banter with. The arguments over whether ESR were the greatest PvP faction in the game raged on and were a lot of fun. So I'll always have mixed feelings about him. We weren't friends, but like I say, I feel he was someone I would definitely play football with at Christmas, and I had no malice towards the man whatsoever, and it's so sad that he's gone. It's weird to think that I'm never going to run into him in game ever again, even though I haven't run into him for about a year. I don't think he's really played since the TF13 thing never worked out for him. But ultimately, you know, when these sad things happen, the community response is something that I'm very pleased about. The majority of the community were respectful. There was a huge coming together of people, and this event was so much fun. So congratulations to whoever arranged it. I'm not 100% sure who arranged it. The person who messaged me on one of my old ESR videos, it's kind of lucky I noticed it, because it was like they left a comment on an old video asking me to do this, so it was lucky I saw it, and I posted my community post, and I did rock up and come down. A lot of people did. It was nice to see so many people do that. It was a fun event. I'd like to say a special thanks to Commander Beef Jerky. Me and his courier, my Cobra and his courier had a massively long, protracted, drawn-out fight, and what he doesn't know is the fact my canopy cracked. So that's why I said he definitely won that one, because when I left, I was running out of air, and by then I'd run out of synth material because I'd synthed so many missiles. All basic reloads, so I'm sat there reloading half a missile rack at a time. Yeah. But I had some amazingly fun incidences, amazingly fun fights. There was a huge wing fight that I'm going to bring to you separately, I think, because it involves Pirates R Us's ridiculous Type 10 with tons of pack hounds. I mean, honestly, if your internet is powered by a hamster on a wheel, you probably shouldn't choose something that's going to lag the instance out, but, you know, that's typical Pirates R Us. There was a huge irony in the fact that Devo turned up in a Corvette and I was in my Cobra. Normally it's the other way around, and Devo's the one in the Cobra, but you know, I was not going to say no to ramming another Corvette. That just seemed to be my night. I had a lot of fun ramming a lot of people. I took some of them with me, but not the Corvettes. But you know, do as much damage as you can, get back to the station as soon as possible, rearm, get back out there and do some more damage. That was my philosophy on the night. I got involved in a lot of kills and I died a lot of times. So that was the point of the event, to have a lot of fun, chat with a lot of people, huge party chats, massive amount of people, and it was good fun. As to some of the others, so there were some memes and dark humor about what happened to Commander Drugbunny, and what I would say on that subject is dark humor is, you know, like spicy food. It's not to everyone's taste. If it's not to yours, the best thing you can do is avoid it. In Britain, we have a great history of gallows humor and laughing at the darkest things. It's one of those traditions that doesn't translate well to a lot of people. So, you know, some people get it, some people don't get it. It's incredibly dark. It can be very funny, but like I say, it's not to everyone's taste. On the whole, the event was very respectful. A lot of people sharing a lot of memories of a very unique commander and an interesting character within the community, and someone we at least shared one thing in common with. We loved playing this game of Elite Dangerous, getting involved in silly disputes on Discord, inter-faction arguments, causing, you know, ridiculous strife for each other's BGSs, just, you know, doing silly stuff, silly pew-pews, and trying to kill each other in spaceships. It is and was all good fun, and there's no malice in any of it. So I'd like to say a final GG to Commander Drugbunny1983, 07 Commander. I'll catch up with you one day. And that's all for this video. Thank you very much for watching. And to Commander Beef Jerky, as you can see, I barely made it back to my carrier with any oxygen left, hence why I waked out on our 1v1 that turned into a 2v1 for a bit, and then I left. But yeah, that's because you cracked my canopy, mate, and that's why I said you'd won that 1v1. Anyway, that's all. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below.